Hello and welcome to Versus Live. I'm Ross Merriam.
And I'm Ryan Overturf.
And we got Rob in the booth. Say hi, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
He'll be taking all your questions, comments, concerns, and burns in the chat. Make sure you tag at Star City Games so he can see them. Send his favorites over to us. We'll get to some questions between our games today. As always, we are brought to you by Star City Games, as well as Carnox chairs. If you want one of these chairs that we're sitting in, you can head on over to carnox.com/SCG. And if you use that affiliate link, you will get 10% off your purchase. You may have noticed that this is not Corey Baumeister.
Correct.
It's Ryan Overturf. That's what he said.
Yeah.
You should believe him.
That tracks. That would be a weird thing to lie about.
Yes.
Speaking of weird things to lie about, Carnox chairs. I slept in a chair last night. It was not as comfortable as this chair. That's a fact. That's a fact. All of that's true.
That means you could sleep in a Carnox chair.
Absolutely. I did. I took a nap the first Envy that we had these chairs. Just my off rounds. Solid power nap.
Where did you get a Carnox chair to nap in?
There was extras like behind the stage. Oof, we got a lot of these.
If we got a lot of these, where's my free Carnox chair, Cedric?
Also a question that I have for Cedric.
Yeah. Corey and I have been lobbying to get free Carnox chairs for quite a while now.
Yeah, you all live in town. It'd be easy to get you the chair.
Yeah. We've been telling people, make sure you tag at Cedric A. Phillips on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Let him know we deserve chairs. You can add Ryan to the list of people that deserve chairs.
I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. So Ryan's in town for the Invitational. You're actually going to be playing it this weekend at SCG Con.
Yeah, I have qualified for maybe 10 invitationals or more that I have covered. So this is my shot. Time to fight.
Are you covering the Players' Championship?
I'm not. The end of my coverage year has happened. So I don't really have any concept of what matters to anybody else. But my goal is to win the Invitational and then win the Players' Championship. Yeah.
That would be nice to have a member of the coverage crew in the Players' Championship.
I'm saying.
Just sort of invading. You're just like, oh, by the way, I've been watching you all year. Y'all suck.
Yeah.
I'm coming for you.
Right. You think that you can just put Oko in your deck and you can hang. Not going to fly.
Nah. So we are going to be previewing some Pioneer for this weekend. Yesterday with Corey, I played a little bit of Modern. So we're covering the other significantly more fun half of the tournament.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like, we have a bunch of different decks, and it's a combination of we're playing these decks, but it's not like Modern, where it's like, oh, we have Affinity, Merfolk, Tron. Like, these are decks you've probably never seen before, which is the awesome part.
Yeah, format's still definitely in its infancy, but we are starting to see some decks rise above. We had some bannings earlier. We had one tiny banning earlier this week in Veil of Summer, but these 6 decks are all things that I think you're going to see a good deal of this weekend. I think we'll see a good deal of them at the top tables and on camera, so these matchups are ones to definitely be on the lookout for, and I am playing what I think is sort of the default best deck of the format right now. This is Mono Green Devotion, a deck that had 2 cards taken away from it and still did very well last weekend. Todd Anderson cannot lose in the Swiss of Magic Online Pioneer PTQs.
Unfortunately, you'd like a better distribution. Maybe not losing in the top 8 would be a better position, but he's been murdering these events in the Swiss rounds anyway.
Yes, he's adapted the Green Devotion deck. There's a little bit more of an aggressive bent to it now with the full 4 copies of Vivian Arkbow Ranger. We got some Jade Light Rangers to help hit land drops and get aggressive. So you still have that capability of going over the top. You can also just win games with the beatdown plan. So I like the added versatility once the power of the ramp plan has been mitigated a little bit by the banning of Leyline. And we'll see how it does in a matchup that I think is going to be kind of tough.
Yeah, I have what you would call a nice little decky on this side of the table. Ross is insisting we call this Izzet Phoenix because there's a bunch of Phoenixes and Mutavaults, which are also
Cedric
Phoenixes.
has decided that it's Izzet Emerge. So.
Izzet Emerge, according to Rob, coming from the boss.
More Phoenixes in this deck than in Izzet Phoenix.
Yes, that's just a fact. That's just math. You can't contest that point.
And in neither deck are the Phoenixes the focal point of the deck.
Well, yeah.
Izzet Phoenix is a thing in the ice deck.
That's true.
Always has been, always will be.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
This is, an Elder Deep Fiend Kozilek's return deck.
Yeah, so it's got some spot removal and Lightning Axe, which is also a graveyard enabler. A card that is weirdly good in this format to me. There's 4 Izzet Charms in this deck, and that card has just been horrible in every other constructed format ever, and it's just good in Pioneer, which is wild.
I'm interested to see how good Izzet Charm will be here, because I, like you, recognize that the card has been heinous in every other format, despite the fact that I registered one in Modern for about a month.
Yeah, I played one like week 1 in Legacy. That was a mistake.
Whew.
Yeah,
Legacy.
It's like halfway to Threshold in Teamer Delver. Yeah, it wasn't good.
Okay. We all make mistakes. It's fine.
I bounced back.
But it's really the Kozilek's Return Elder Deep Fiend aspect of the deck is very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Your graveyard enablers help set that up. You've got good creatures to sacrifice in Rekindling Phoenix, Flamewake Phoenix to emerge, and then you got a lot of additional interaction from the adventure creatures, Brazen Borrower, Bone Crusher Giant.
Yeah, there's a lot of subtle value in the deck, not just like adventure creatures being spells, the Kozilek's Return going both ways up the Deep Fiends, but a lot of creature lands in this deck. I got Mutavaults, I got Wandering Fumaroles, and they seem pretty good.
Yeah, but, it's clear that the deck is trying to, sort of tread water for the first 3 or 4 turns and then turn the corner in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
And you tap down all their stuff with Elder Deep Fiend, and then make this really big attack. And animating a creature land is a good way to bolster those attacks, force through those last points of damage, make sure the game ends before your Deep Fiend sort of becomes just a dopey 5/6.
For sure. Yeah, it hits hard. A lot of flexible cards. My one concern is that this deck doesn't have ways to kind of finesse the early turns, and I could see missing your 3rd land drop and losing on the spot in a number of the games.
Okay. Well, we'll see if that happens. We're going to get started. You're going to be on the play, because on yesterday's show, I won the marbles, which means they are up for grabs.
I'm coming for you.
You can take them back to Minnesota.
We got a little marble famine in Minnesota, so it'll be good to bring them back to the homeland.
Yes. Are marbles very popular in the upper Midwest?
No.
Or, to be fair, are they popular anywhere?
No. So Minnesota, actually, it's like generally important for hobbies that are enjoyable inside. I think of marbles as like a sidewalk game.
Okay.
Like Dungeons and Dragons came out of Wisconsin because we're inside 6 months of the year. So that's
an underestimate, probably, but
yeah. I got a fine hand here. This might have that problem I was talking about with the missing the 3rd land drop, but outside of that, these cards are all heaters.
I could say the exact same thing for my hand. So let's go.
Let's do it. I got a Steam Vents tapped.
Okay. I have a Once Upon a Time.
All right.
3, 4, 5. I will take the Forest and cast an Elf.
Oh, smart.
You're up.
The question is not if I kill the elf, but how I kill the elf. I'm feeling a good stomp. Going on an adventure.
Going on an adventure. Well, I have a Burning Tree Emissary into another Land of Elves.
Okay.
That's the turn.
Once again, the question's not if I'm killing the elf. It's how I'm killing the elf. When it comes to playing as mana creatures, on turn 1, it's like pretty free, Common Wisdom, Bolt the Bird or whatever. But then after turn 1, you have to ask yourself about mana thresholds. So the concern is 3rd land, Vivian, Arcbow Ranger, which I think is the kind of thing that I want to get ahead of. However, I have plans kind of no matter what you do, and I think I can get a little bit more. I got a bunch of instants, so I'm just going to pass the turn for now. Going to be suspicious with this Bone Crusher Giant over here, but I think I got you in kind of a squeeze.
Well, I'm afraid of a Kozilek's Return here. Though, I guess if you had K Return, I think it would be pretty easy to just cast that on your turn, deny me mana, and generate card advantage. So maybe I'm supposed to go for it. I do want to hit land drops, so yeah, I've talked myself into getting blown out. Let's play Jadelight Ranger.
I'll respond to the trigger with Kozilek's Return.
Yeah. Hopefully I get some of these cards back. That's been the non-land and been the non-land. You're up.
Nice 0 for 1 over there. Okay. So I have my first 3 lands. I could look for a 4th or just put something on the table. when you have these looting effects, this deck is kind of flush with a lot of cards that you want to put in the graveyard. The Cosmic Return, I got that there the easy way by casting it, but then I have a bunch of Flamewake Phoenixes, and ideally you can discard them when you're using your looting effects. And it's pretty safe and free just to run out the Giant, so I'm liking that here. So I'm going to Giant and pass.
Elvish Mystic. Let's pay a mana for a land drop. You're up. Well, I was on the draw with a Once Upon a Time and a Jade Light Ranger. Didn't hit my third land. That's a problem.
Things feel kind of easy on this side now. I could try to get fancy, but Stomp seems appropriate. I'll jam for 4.
Stomp in the yard over there. I'm at 16.
And you're up.
Jesus. So many cards. There's only one land in my Once Upon a Time, too. There's 4 non-lands on the bottom of my deck.
Beats.
Shuffle is broken.
Yeah. If you had another Once Upon a Time, you could cast it for 2 mana, which I'm told by people who seemingly don't understand the value of mana in this format is totally fine.
Yeah, totally fine is not how I would describe it. An acceptable, fail case is, I think, more accurate.
Sure.
I was trying to protect this Scavenging Ooze from other removal spells, but at this point I'm too far behind, so I'll just run it out there.
Yeah, a bunch of creatures in the old bin over there.
Yep, and we got a K return we can exile too.
Correct.
Probably a little late on that. Maybe land 4 Elder Deep Fiend me.
Speaking of K return.
I'm at 12.
It is your turn.
Is it? We did it.
Oh, no.
Still can't cast any of our spells.
Not really much in the way of 3 mana payoffs in your deck.
Nope. Another Jade Light would have been nice, but that is not forthcoming. I guess I will play a 2/3 for 3, otherwise known as Riot Devils.
Got to get something going.
You're up.
I hate this card in this format. I'm going to board it out on principle. It might even be good in the matchup. I don't think it's good in the format.
I don't know what card you're talking about.
Do you want me to tell you? Well, I'll tell you after the game. After I'm finished winning this game, I'll let you know the cards I still have in my hand. All the Ds.
You know what they say, Ryan.
Let you know about all the Ds.
Pride cometh before the fall.
All right. You're at 8. I'll cast another Bone Crusher Giant.
Sure you will.
Your turn.
Needed another land. Okay, right. Devils number 2.
Ooh. The combo.
Try to K return those. Jerk.
I can do it with the backside, right? I'm excited to get double block.
I will double block one of your Bone Crusher Giants.
Smart. I'll do 3 damage to the first, 2 to the second, and then charm it down. You're at 4.
I am at 4.
Your turn.
We did it.
Gonna cast a Vivian and concede.
Gonna cast a Walking Ballista for 2.
Oh, blocker. I have another Izzet charm.
God, that's so lucky.
It is pretty lucky.
I'll do you 2.
Smart. I mean, I can't cast it yet, so you should wait till my turn.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll kill that.
I'll do you 2.
I'll deal you lethal.
That'll do, pig.
This card is unacceptably inefficient.
Huh.
Even if you can't like miss a land drop and cast it and have it ever still be good. It's like really good when you're ahead, but why do you play cards of that nature? You know what I mean?
Okay.
I'm not feeling it. Not feeling it.
I'm intrigued. I've definitely I've had similar experiences with Gideon Ally of Zendikar.
I'm a bigger fan of Gideon. We got that one later on the deck. We'll see who's right about Gideon later.
Yeah.
But I have control over whether I board Chandra out, so.
That you do. And we will get to that sideboarding after a short break here, and then we will finish this match between Mono Green Devotion and Izzet Emerge. Don't go anywhere. And we're back with sideboarding between Mono Green Devotion and Izzet Emerge. Not a lot going on my side. Sideboard not really built for this matchup. I think one of the reasons the Izzet Emerge deck did well last weekend is because it's sort of new. People aren't really prepared for it. I am going to try bringing in Shaper Sanctuary. Not sure how good it is, though. Ryan is bringing in a bunch of 1-for-1 removal spells, against which Sanctuary is quite good. I also think Walking Ballista is a rather poor threat in the matchup. It's not a lot of cheap creatures to pick off. The Brazen Borrower is even coming out from your side, which makes sense. The body is not super relevant, and you're bringing in a lot better cheap interaction. So we're going to cut some ballistas. We still got one in the deck to find. We can wish for one with Vivian if we've got a big pile of mana and want to finish you off. So we're not completely cutting ourselves, off of access of one of our major threats, but we're focusing on at least being able to grind through some of the early removal that stymied me in game 1.
Yeah. So, like you mentioned, bringing in a bunch of spot removal. Got Wild Slashes, more the same on Bolting the Bird, kill the Elvish Mystic. It's also sometimes important to just kill your Burning Tree emissaries to keep your devotion count low. So I like some Wild Slashes. I have Ether Gusts. That's just good against all your stuff. Can get a creature off the battlefield, can stop a Planeswalker on the way down, or at least buy a turn. Also, buying a turn against Scavenging Ooze, if I need to set up my graveyard that turn, can be pretty meaningful. Like you mentioned, Borrower coming out. It's a fine tempo play. You want to maintain some amount of your 3-mana creatures so you can emerge Elder Deep Fiend. But Borrower's Body is just really not what the matchup's about. I'm just trying to stop you from playing your game and then kill you somehow. Chandra is just way too inefficient. Like, you're going to have 2 emissaries. I'll kill one. You'll attack Chandra down, and I'll feel pretty foolish.
Yeah, 4 mana for 0.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Let's shuffle up. Play game 2.
I will say there's 2 dig through times on my sideboard, and that just feels silly. Like, it's right there. It's on the deck registration sheet, and I don't have it in my deck. I must be doing something wrong, but I don't know.
I haven't been overly impressed by the blue delve spells, though. It takes a lot of work to be casting them for a reasonable mana cost.
Yeah. I have enjoyed Treasure Cruise a lot when I have played it. I have heard a lot of people echoing what you're saying. You have to work pretty hard for the delve spells, but I have found it to be an acceptable amount of work once you figure out the list.
So we do have a question kind of around that. All Hail Bolus wanted to know, how playable do you think Prowess is, and how far have you pushed to try to play Treasure Cruise and some of those delve spells?
So actually, Izzet Phoenix I've had a lot of success playing in leagues with Treasure Cruise. I tried Blue-Red Prowess, and to make it work, because you don't have fetch lands and you don't have like Manamorphose or anything that really goes to the graveyard for 0, ended up playing like Crash Through and what's the bad one?
Warlord's
Fury. And the issue is, when you have a lot of air like that, when you resolve Treasure Cruise, you draw 3 cantrips and you're still not doing anything. And like, the Prowess creatures don't do anything unless they're already on the table. And in Pioneer, I think that if you're going to play Prowess, Bedlam Reveler is just better because your payoff also kills them. And then the cantrips are a little bit better because you got a body on the table. But I like Treasure Cruise a lot in Izzet Phoenix.
Makes a lot of sense, and I'll echo what Ryan says. Okay, I'm going to be on the play for game number 2, and Sand seems fine. I feel like I'm just going to get beat up by a bunch of cheap removal still, but I don't know what I'm trying to mulligan into.
Well, I got a lot of cheap removal, but no lands, so you're off the hook on that one.
Got him. We're on plan A now. Mana screw your opponent.
5.
Yeah, chat, please. Histeos had a question also. They want to know, where do you feel the ends of the Pioneer spectrum? What's the most hyper aggressive deck, and what's the most like over the top kind of deck?
Most hyper aggressive deck? The red aggro decks are around, but they're not that good.
I think the white aggro deck is the most hyper aggressive.
Yeah, that one we haven't really seen in the major tournaments. It pops up around leagues, and every time I see a list, I get really mad when there's no Venerated Loxodons. I just don't understand why people don't want to play 0 mana for 9 power.
A fair critique.
Yeah, in their aggro decks. So maybe but yeah, I would say those are probably the most hyper aggressive. The black aggro deck gets pretty low to the ground, but it also does a fair bit of grinding. But it definitely can, just roll you over. At the top end, we've probably got like the Azorius control decks, the mono green ramp decks.
I would put Wilderness Reclamation on the extreme end of that spectrum. Like, your cards that are good against the aggro deck are kind of blank against that deck.
Okay, in that sense, yeah. I was thinking more of like a time scale. Like what deck is trying to go to turn 20?
Yeah. Blue
Um,
white. There's definitely like just do nothing blue white in this format.
and then the Bant field decks. They end the game pretty quickly once field gets going, though.
True.
But they can definitely play a long game against like Field of Ruin. So yeah, depending upon the way you frame the question, something in that end towards the top. But the monocolor aggro decks are at the bottom.
Yeah. So I have a keepable 6 here in a really interesting London Mulligan decision. I'm for sure keeping this card, and then there's actually a pretty serious argument about the rest of the cards in my hand. But what I'm going to do is I have a lot of this sort of thing in my deck, and I'm not really getting paid off for having specifically this one. So I'm going to ship that to the bottom and hope to not get punished. But like one of these is, I think, reasonable but very greedy, and one of these makes sense, but this is the highest upside for cards in my hand. So we're going to try out this 6.
Okay, I will start on Forest Llanowar Elves.
All right. I will cast Wild Slash on your Llanowar Elves.
Wild.
Go.
Slash.
Correct.
Okay, I will play Forest Llanowar Elves.
Ooh.
You're up.
I will play Wandering Fumarole and pass.
Ooh, I get to untap with an elf.
Must be nice.
I'm going to cast a relevant spell.
Don't do that.
I feel so lucky.
This is a Vivian. I'll be upset.
It is a Vivian.
I'm upset.
Plus, let's get this Llanowar Elves out of Izzet charm range.
Smart. All right. Play this land. Cast this Champion of Wits. Draw these cards. Discard these cards. Pass turn.
That's not good.
For whom?
Not good at all. So we are obviously very scared of a
Elder Deep Fiend.
That's it.
I mean, the emerge card. What is that called?
Yeah.
There's not one in my hand.
So we're going to deal with this Champion of Wits, but I'm going to do it while also playing Shaper's Sanctuary. We'll play a 2/3 Voracious Hydra, fight there, and then plus our Vivian and get 2 more counters on the Hydra and pass the turn. And hopefully we'll just be able to keep fighting creatures on Ryan's side and close out this game.
I think getting the Vivian down puts you in a pretty safe spot.
Yeah. Rekindling Phoenix would be pretty good here.
Wouldn't it? So this doesn't kill anything, and he has a Shaper Sanctuary. It's only for creatures, right? Or
Yeah.
okay. In theory, I could target a Planeswalker. I do have a line that might be able to get me out of hit here. I will cast Bone Crusher Giant. I will trigger my Flamewake Phoenix, and I will use it to attack Vivian for 2.
It's pretty good.
And then I will pass turn.
Pretty good. So we're still both at 20.
That's what I got.
Not great. Not great. So we basically can't beat an Elder Deep Fiend. I guess I could just try to pump out try to get these outside of range. But I'd only get this out, make it a 6/7. And we just have an Elder Deep Fiend and a Flamewake Phoenix against Voracious Hydra. Alternatively, I can kill Ryan's board this turn and hope he doesn't have another big threat.
It's pretty tough for this deck to set up 4-power creature. Like, if you have a way to clear my board, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that's the best line. So we're going to have this thing deal a bunch of damage there. Then we're going to play another Vivian and minus it to... It's not fight, yeah, it's deal damage.
Yeah.
And then we'll get in for... So I could get in for 7 or just 4 and protect the Vivian from this Mutavault or Wandering Fumarole. I think that's a little bit better because there's a world where like Ryan goes like land, Bone Crusher Giant, use Mutavault to attack the Vivian, and then both my creatures are going to be vulnerable to the Kozilek's return. So I think I'd rather play a little conservative and guarantee I get to Vivian plus this. But I guess that's still bad against Bone Crusher. You just stop this and then cast it. So what do I actually beat by holding it back? If I don't beat Bone Crusher Giant, I beat another Champion of Wits. Get the borrowers out of your deck. Flamewake Phoenix I can't stop either. So yeah, let's just get in for 7 then, because I don't think I actually beat any additional cards other than the one remaining champion.
And none come to mind. Good. That's okay. You have one in hand.
One card.
I will attack Vivian. And then I will pass turn. It's going to be tough for me to reestablish from here.
I will cast Shaper Sanctuary.
That resolves.
I will cast Shaper Sanctuary.
Mercy.
Drawing all 3 of that.
Yep. That's a lot of that.
The best. But we'll attack for 7.
Yeah, it's possible I was actually supposed to respond to the first Sanctuary. I'm not getting this down on time, so I guess I was supposed to do this.
The pressure of the marbles already getting to you.
Right. I just was so discouraged by that Vivian, Checked out of the game a little bit. I don't really want to give up 3 cards, though.
Shaper Sanctuary definitely on that list of cards where you don't see the work it's doing because your opponent's just not casting spells that they otherwise would have.
Right.
So you're taking 7, going to 6.
Yep.
Pass the turn.
Could fire this off. Don't know. Let's see. I need to be able to block.
I think you need a Supreme Verdict too.
The Supreme Verdict would be nice. I'll just loot.
Yeah. Rekindling Phoenix here would still be quite good.
Yeah, I'd take that. All right, we'll pitch this. It's not doing anything for me. And this one also seems quite weak at this stage. Might still just have to do this out of desperation. If I drew Rekindling Phoenix and had that, that would be pretty good. I get beat pretty hard by Nissa. I don't know. I need to get lucky enough as a baseline. So let's start with that. That's not it. I'll pass the turn here.
Not sure what Ryan's doing here to survive.
I'm dying.
Can't imagine it's good. It will force you to act.
Yeah. Lightning Axe, targeting Hydra, discarding Mountain. That's smart. Good way to remember your triggers, Ross. I'm
1,
proud of you.
2, 3.
Otherwise, I'll be taking 3 damage.
Brings you to 3 life.
Yes. Are they all bricks?
They are not.
4 forests?
Burning Tree Emissary.
Yeah.
Trigger.
Smart.
Once upon a time.
Resolves.
This is basically the same as casting it free, right?
Pretty much. Ooh,
That one's pretty good.
that ain't bad.
Elvish Mystic.
Yeah.
Pass the turn. See, all we needed was 1. Left 1 in the deck. We are showing Ryan 6 mana here, which will be enough to cast it for lethal damage.
Suppose I just have to do this now. So possible the correct play was just to axe the Hydra when all that business happened, but also I was losing anyway. All right, combat. Second main, go. See, Flamewake Phoenix has to attack, so if you want to block,
Make
all
6
right.
green.
You got it. Digs for Time would have been good in that game.
Yeah.
That's not even necessarily true, but I would have been able to cast it.
Card that you really needed was Rekindling Phoenix.
Yeah, Phoenix would have been nice. Just kind of the turn that Vivian came down was the second Vivian actually what did it because I was able to set up the 2 creatures to sacrifice.
Yeah, you needed a second turn with 2 creatures.
Right.
Really weren't able to do that. Okay, we got one more game.
I get to be on the play.
That's true. I'll probably start with Forest Llanowar Elves.
Yeah, or Once Upon a Time, Forest Llanowar Elves.
Or Once Upon a Time, Forest Elvish Mystic.
Ooh, yeah, that's a legal play. I would err on the side of that.
Yeah. I like how in every list I see where there has to be a choice made between Llanowar Elves and Elvish Mystic, they always choose Llanowar Elves.
It's just it's iconic.
I know, and I love it.
That means from now on, I'm going to make sure to choose Elvish Mystic.
There's a couple cool choices of Llanowar Elves too. There's like the really bizarre original art. Obviously, alpha art cards are really cool. Big fan of 7th edition, especially if you're into foils. 7th edition foils are just like the coolest. The art is, more whimsical. Generally not like the most remarkable pieces of art, but it's 7th edition.
I don't know if I would describe 7th edition foils as the coolest or least objectionable.
Sure. They're very rare.
That is true.
Yeah.
I know for one, was it an IQ? Ross asked me to buy him a Llanowar Elf because he was running a little late to the IQ. And so I just made sure to buy the ugliest one that I could find. So it was some white bordered, like 6th edition or something.
Nice.
They were great.
You like to get like dual deck printings. Make them guess what the set symbol is.
We can take a question before we start this game if you got one, Rob.
Yeah, Ion935. Do you think Infernal Reckoning is playable in this format as a sideboard card with Eldrazi running around and Hardened Scales?
1 black mana, instant exile target colorless creatures.
You gain life equal to its power. Yep.
Irrelevant upside, you say. I don't think there's enough of that sort of thing. Maybe if your Ensoul deck takes off. You exile Darksteel Citadel, which is real, but I don't even think that there's sideboard space for that effect all the same.
I'm just trying to play in Soul decks, and you are coming out here with Infernal Reckoning?
Gotta teach you a lesson. Keep you honest.
Get them.
Every green deck I look at has 5 disenchants on the sideboard. Why do you hate me?
If your deck is good, it makes sense, right?
I believe Corey was the one who told you, why are you sharing the tech? So, you know what?
Yeah, you
Give
gotta
it to
keep
yourself.
artifact decks under wraps. You should know that by now.
I'm
You
a
just had
content
the deck of
creator
the
first,
envy.
Ryan.
Gave it away.
Okay, you'll be on the play.
Ooh, this hand is what they call a nice one. I cut off your
Disagree.
joke. What was your joke?
I don't remember.
You said I will be on the play, and I don't think you were going to say I will be on the draw. Yeah,
Yeah, I was not going to say that.
right.
It wasn't even a joke. I was just describing what was going to happen so that the audience knew, in case they lost track in our long interlude.
It's important to communicate well with the audience. I'm still keeping.
I'm still mulliganing.
All right.
That means we got time for one more question.
Do y'all think Heroic is still viable in this format? And
I've been beat up by heroic decks a few times.
I like the Boros Heroic decks.
Yeah, I just think they're neat. They seem good.
I think they're underrated. I think that it's one of the better Dreadhorde Arcanist decks. I think Dreadhorde Arcanist is actually a pretty good card in the format.
10th Street Legionnaire also just kills real quick.
Yeah. That's about a lot of the, like the Grixis Arcanist decks just have no clock. And that was my problem with them. But the Boros deck just gets people dead.
Yeah, and just having multiple 1-drops with heroic, so you can have stuff where your opponent immediately has to respond on the first turn. Very few decks are registering more than 4 of the 1-mana kill spells. Some decks are a little bit heavier on that sort of thing, but in general, you're forcing a reaction starting on turn 1, and you keep the pressure up. And if you're playing Feather, that requires specific cards. That one's hard to deal with.
And your own removal is pretty good. You can play Wild Slash. It's a very good card in the format. And you get to play Reckless Rage, which is great.
Yeah.
Nice Steel Leaf Champion, idiot. Okay. Second try here. And this is a good one. I think I will bin this one. It just seems like it's going to take a while to get to the point where that's good. So,
All right.
keep the cheap
Defense,
cards.
Go.
I will start on a Once Upon a Time.
Sure.
I will select Burning Tree Emissary.
Powerful.
And I will cast Shaper's Sanctuary.
I was hoping for an elf. That one's a little tougher. Okay. No reason to do anything just yet. I'll pass here.
Elvish Mystic.
Sure.
You're up.
All right. Then we're going to be a little fancy here. I think that is correct. Going to Ether Gust your Shaper Sanctuary.
You. So I have to ask myself a question. Am I feeling lucky? So the actual question is, do I want to put this on the top or bottom? Oof. Not sure if I have time. I'm also just not sure what my play my next turn is not going to be good. I know
Love
that.
to hear that.
I figured that out. Ugh. This is so bad. My next turn's not going to be good anyway. I might as well leave it on top.
All right.
Like maybe I could draw a Vivian. That would be the only thing that would make me regret leaving this.
Dump on your elf. Go ahead.
So Ryan,
Yeah.
chat happened to notice the Merchant of the Veil sitting over there to the side of your deck that we tried to troll you with.
Yeah.
What exactly is it about Merchant that you don't like?
So the card itself existing is inoffensive. Like I don't they can print that card. It's good for limited. It's the fact that I'm regularly asked about it in Constructed when it's obviously not good enough. And it would actually be a lot better if it didn't have the creature. Like just sorcery, discard a card, draw a card, at least goes to your graveyard for Treasure Cruise. But the 2/3 is just so rancid. It's so bad in every conceivable game that you could actually play in the real world. It bothers me.
Remember when I played a bunch of Riot Devils in game 1 and then I lost very
I
handily?
recall that.
Yeah. That's what happens when you cast Merchant of the Veil because it's a 3-mana 2/3 with no relevant text.
All right, I missed on my 4th land, but I drew
That's good.
a neat one.
A neat one.
So I could get feisty with this, but I think that just getting a giant on the table. Well, you have 2 in hand.
Dose.
Being reactive definitely serves me if I can push a mana advantage, but missing land drops tends to make that more difficult. You understand.
Hard to push a mana advantage without mana.
Right. That's the first criteria. That's a box you want to check on that.
This is the kind of insights you only glean after years of competitive play.
I'm going to run the giant out there, see what happens.
Gonna run the giant out there, he says. I'm gonna run the scavenging ooze out there and
Okay.
exile this Elvish Mystic to get it out of Kozilek's return range. That'll bring me to 21. And then I will pass the turn.
No attacks, huh?
Oh, I don't think I want to attack 2/2 into 4/3 while I'm tapped out.
You see it all.
I have attacked I attacked a zombie token into some much larger creature on camera, and the finals have been opened.
I got punished real bad by failing to sell an attack against Donegan in the top 4 of the PTQ last weekend. I just my only card in hand was light up the stage, and he had a 2/2 construct. and I spent too long thinking before I attack with Swiss Spear. There's just 0% to make that block. That block doesn't make any sense. And then just like my Swiss Spear died. It was upsetting. At this point, now that I got this large and in charge giant type creature on the battlefield, I think I just have to pass. So I'm going to do that.
Large and in charge, he says. It's not a bad one. I will make 4 green with Nykthos.
Mm-hmm.
I will cast a Jade Light Ranger with a green in my mana pool.
You have 2 left over.
1 left over.
1 left over. No, cards in hand.
Oh, 2 cards. 1 mana.
I accept. What's it like?
It's not bad. That Jade Light Ranger is that good. I have a sneaking suspicion that there's going to be a Kozilek's Return cast. And if that is the case, this Jade Light Ranger is quite good. And if Kozilek's Return isn't cast, it's still reasonable. So I will leave it on top. I will play a castle. There's no chance of Ryan acting before this green mana exits my pool, so I might as well just exile that Aether Gust. Something that people don't do enough with Scavenging Ooze, just like...
Yeah, like I left the digs on the sideboard, but in general, the blue-red decks should have a Delve draw spell somewhere.
Pass the turn. If you had K return, you probably would have done it with the trigger on the stack.
There's only 1 up here, so here's what we're gonna do. I can commit 2 game actions.
2 game
I'd
actions.
love to commit 2 game actions.
That's a lot of game actions.
I'll fire this off. Like I know he's just got a little creature on the top of the deck. So let's start by seeing where you want to put this Shaper Sanctuary.
This card is heinous.
It's so nice.
Okay. Wow. We're putting this one on the bottom now.
Okay.
I can't in good faith put it on top when I know you're just casting your removal spells now.
Lightning Axe, discarding Lightning Axe, targeting Scavenging Ooze.
Okay. I exile the Aether Gust.
Sure. Proceed to my turn.
Yep.
Yeah, 3-2 over there, huh? I'm just going to pass here. Leave up my tricks, which I may or may not have. Got to keep them a secret from Ross. I'm going back and forth on how I feel about Mutavault in this deck. I'd go for another colored mana source.
Make 4 green.
Sure.
Filter into the castle, make 6 green.
Mm-hmm.
4 green floating, Scavenging Ooze.
Yes.
3 green floating, exile the ooze.
Sure.
I go to 22.
Yep.
I should have attacked before doing any of this, but so am I getting K returned here? Feels likely, but I'll get another card out of this.
Trigger on the stack.
Oh, just a reminder for people, the text on Castle Garenbrig does say abilities as well.
Got 2 cards out of it.
Nice.
Play my land for turn, and we will exile a Jade Light Ranger.
Is that better than exiling my K return?
Nope. Exile that. You're up. Good call.
I want to kill that thing. I don't want to get out of hand. I would really like to have a second red mana on the battlefield. But here we are. So I know that you have 2 cards in hand and one's Forest.
One is Nykthos.
Nykthos. It's even worse than a Forest. Well, here. It's probably just this one. Fire this up and jam for 6.
I am at 16.
Go ahead.
The other one's Nissa.
Mm,
Probably could have guessed that.
yeah, don't like that.
Definitely going to animate this Nykthos so that when it dies, I've got a backup.
Yeah.
We'll get in for 3. Brings you to 17.
Yep.
And White Forest, you're up.
Okay.
We're face up now. But I've resolved the Planeswalker, and that's good.
Continue to lament my shortage of red mana.
His Mutavaults haven't been great.
Probably going to need to get Nissa off the battlefield in pretty short order. Anything that looks like a game I'm winning. Activate. Attack Nissa with both.
Okay. I do not want to lose Nissa to a stomp, so I'm actually just going to block the giant.
Okay. 2 comes in.
Nissa goes to 4.
And then I will pass turn.
I have so much mana that I just don't have to care about whatchamacallit at all. Is it Charm? Let's play Vivian.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty good draw.
That is not a bad one.
So now Nykthos is actually pretty valuable because I have 5 pips of devotion. So let's animate a forest. So try to put 2 counters on that forest.
Yep.
And get in for 5. Brings you to 12.
Yep.
Pass the turn.
And I'm gonna fire off this stomp. Where do I stomp? It's a toughie.
Right foot, let's stomp.
All of my options are bad. Mutavault should be embarrassed for this game.
Left foot, let's stomp.
My spells were so good, and casting them would win, and activating this was worth nothing. I think there's a little fancy deck building syndrome going on here. Can I draw?
All of my things require 5 damage to remove.
That's a lot.
2 is a lot less than 5.
Correct. Less than half. 40%. You want to get technical about it.
2/5.
So the thing about Vivian is if I could get it down to 3, you can't just like fight with impunity. I need to kill Nissa, but I just like can't do that. And then in theory, I could somehow find Kozilek's Return and Defiend and clear up all your lands. In theory. I'm going to fire this at Vivian, but I think I'm on like a 0%er here.
Does prevent a Ulamog next turn. Or potentially just a lethal walking ballista.
I would lose to a Scavenging.
5. Untap this. 5 more. It's 10. This is worth 2. 4, 6. So I could play an 8/8 ballista next turn if you had left the Vivian on 5.
Oh yeah, the whole wish thing.
So one of the things that I really liked about Todd adding it to the deck, because I felt similarly to him that I wanted access to Ulamog, but I never wanted to draw it naturally. So just the one in the sideboard with the 2 Vivians was perfect.
Yeah, no, I like the Vivians a lot. Also, just it's a cheaper Planeswalker. Getting to 4 mana is a lot easier than getting to 5. Nissa's obviously busted, but Vivian certainly does enough for 4.
Lets you get a lot of value out of your Burning Tree Emissaries.
Cast this one and pass.
Yeah, that was a little embarrassing. To be fair, so is that one. So you were at 12.
Correct.
What is the best way for me to end this game? Play an elf. Make this thing large, or make this thing a thing, then make it large. Want to get these both out of Bone Crusher range, and I'll attack for 10.
I'll go to 2.
And then I will pass the turn.
Yeah. There's my second red source. Now we're really in business, I think. We're not remotely in business. I can't even block my way out of it. I guess I could, survive a turn. I can cast one of these and fire up a Mutavault, but then it's like abundantly clear how I'm dead here, right?
I mean, Vivian gives trample too.
Oh, yeah. So can't even really do that. Just give both of those +1/+1 and trample. Nothing I can do about it. I don't have enough red mana to even throw 4 points at Vivian. I'm just quite dead.
Planeswalkers.
They're not bad. They're not bad. Mutavault, though, is bad.
Well, Mutavault's a good Magic card.
It's a fine Magic card. I think that it's probably, the idea is that you have it for controlling decks. We got a little blue-white deck coming up here. You have stuff like Lightning Axe. It doesn't really play there. So you want to make up some points. But I think with the Fumaroles, you have enough of the creature land kind of thing going on. And, you can't play Mutavault as your second land because it is a charm. I think there's enough downside in this deck where I would try to move off of them.
Yeah, mana base is a little strained. There's a lot of double red cards. You want to be casting, multiple red cards a lot of the time. Elder Deep Fiend is essentially a double blue card because you want to be emerging it. You also have Brazen Borrower, so a pretty strained mana base there. Definitely a tough one for colorless landscape.
Yeah, and the deck's pretty efficient, but there's just times there where I had enough mana, but not the colors to cast 2 spells. And if you're not casting 2 spells in this format, I think you're in trouble.
Yeah, format is definitely sort of streamlined down where you're getting attacked early and often. You've got to be on the battlefield quickly or reacting very quickly, and stumbling is getting punished.
Right.
It's not week 0 when everybody's just throwing stuff at the wall, and you got some time.
Yeah.
So
Green Devotion also just looked really good.
Yeah, there's a reason that it's the default deck. This is a matchup where the cards look good from your side. If you looked at the matchup on paper, you've got efficient red removal. You got this really nice sweeper. I don't really interact a lot with what you're doing. The Scavenging Ooze is quite good.
Right.
And some lists actually aren't playing Ooze. I know Todd was playing it. I've seen lists with Coursers in addition to Jadelight Ranger. I've seen Verdurous Earhulk, which I think is an interesting one. Raises the curve a bit, but a powerful effect.
Yeah, it's good if the format seems to be about just actually closing the game. But Scavenging Ooze isn't bad at that, and there's a number of decks where I think the Graveyard Disruption is actually super meaningful.
Yeah, it certainly came up here. Shaper Sanctuary looked pretty bad.
Yeah, especially if the blue decks are going to have Ether Gust.
Yeah.
Those turns felt really good. The early game shaped up nicely, and yeah, it was honestly just being off color. I think I could have closed that one if I could cast spells better.
Yeah, instead you were sort of treading water. It gave me enough time to hit my land drops, eventually land the Planeswalkers. And that's what the Devotion deck does. It does have some degree of inevitability while also being a deck that can just kill you on turn 4 or 5.
Right.
And that versatility is we don't really see in the other green decks, and not really a lot of the other top decks in the format. And I think it's one of the reasons that the Green Devotion deck has been so successful.
Yeah. Pretty low maintenance. Once upon a time doesn't hurt on the consistency front.
Okay. We finished a little bit early, so we got time to take one question if you got it, Rob.
Sure. Do you think that Aetherworks Marvel is being overlooked in this format, or is it just too slow and not consistent enough?
The latter.
I have not struggled at all playing against any Marvel configuration that I've played against. I even played a game last night on Magic Online where my opponent seemed to have boarded in a number of interactive cards, but they resolved a Marvel on 4 and they only had 1 energy. So you can't really do much with the deck is kind of the point that's illustrative of. You have to be casting just the cards that make energy. Rogue Refiner was really good in the standard. It's not really up to snuff against more years of more cards. The aggressive decks are a lot faster. There's more ways to disrupt you. I haven't been impressed.
Yeah. I played a matchup against a Sultai Energy deck where their turn 3 players Rogue Refiner and their turn 4 players Rogue Refiner, and I wild slashed both of them, and the game ended in short order.
Yep, sounds right.
So the fact that you have to put a bunch of subpar cards in your deck, the only energy card that I've been impressed with has been Harness Lightning.
I will say Whirler Rogue or Virtuoso. Whirler Virtuoso is still a real card
in certain matchups. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just not enough. Not enough depth of enablers for Aetherworks Marvel, and then you're not appreciably faster than the aggressive decks. The aggro decks are killing you on turn 4. So if you're on the draw, you're putting up minimal resistance and then, hoping that your turn 4 Marvel hits basically every game. Maybe a little bit better on the play, and you're not that consistent at doing it. And if you want to play better cards, then you have to make your Marvel plan worse. It's just not a deck I've been remotely impressed with.
It's also not meaningful to say that Ulamog is a better card than Nissa. Like, heads up, Marvel versus Green Devotion. Obviously, Ulamog is this giant thing. If you get it, great. But the floor is so much higher on Nissa. Eminently castable spell. You can cast it ahead of time, like before turn 4 ahead of time, and it's just a card you're playing 4 copies in your deck that you're happy to do, which is not the case when your hand gets gummed up on Ulamogs. You just never cast one in the entire game, and you just lose sometimes.
Yeah. So, and that just, adds into the consistency issues of that deck. So, yeah, I think that one's a dud. I think it's pretty obvious at this point that it is a dud. Just haven't seen any of it. And that's, we didn't even mention the issues against Teferi Time Raveler.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Some people just main deck this card that completely shuts you down. So that's going to be it for match 1. 1 to the good for keeping the marbles here in Roanoke. And we're going to be bringing match 2 where I'm going to be playing a Gruul aggro deck. And you got some flavor of Azorius, right?
Azorius control, little blue-white do-nothings.
Okay, well, we'll see if the Azorius deck can stand up to some Goblin Rabble Masters. The Azorius decks do have a little bit more cheap removal, but we'll get into describing that matchup after this break. What do you say, Rob? 5 minutes?
5 minutes.
Sweet. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere.